Back in 1987, FBI agent Ethan Carter stepped out of his Dallas office to meet an informant and vanished without a trace. The Bureau threw everything into a massive search effort, one of their biggest ever, but came up empty-handed. For years down the line, in 1991, a homeless guy looking for a place to crash in an old storage unit stumbled onto something jaw-dropping. The findings inside would unearth unthinkable atrocities, rocking the FBI to its core. In the Dallas FBI field office, fluorescent lights buzzed softly as Special Agent Ryan Mitchell leaned over his desk, peering at a case file while steam curled up from his coffee mug. It was a dreary morning in Texas, March 15, 1991, and Ryan was sifting through dead-end leads on a series of unsolved abductions when his desk phone jolted him with a ring. "Mitchell," he said, picking up while still eyeing the documents. "Agent Mitchell, this is Officer Lopez from the Denton PD," came the tense voice on the line. "We've got something here you'll want to see. We nabbed a homeless guy this morning for breaking into an abandoned storage unit out by the town's edge. Normally, we wouldn't bug the FBI, but he says he found a chair smeared with blood, some shackles, and an FBI badge in there." Ryan's hand stopped short of grabbing his coffee. "An FBI badge?" "Yes, sir. It's got the name Special Agent Ethan Carter on it. Records show he disappeared back in '87. Thought you'd want a heads up, seeing as he was your partner." The room seemed to wobble for a second. "Ethan. For years of dead silence, and now this?" Ryan's grip on the phone tightened. "Where's the storage unit located?" "It's a backwoods storage depot tucked off a quiet service road on Denton's outskirts, right behind that old, shut-down scrapyard on Route 77. It's a private setup, not one of those big chain places. I'll shoot you the coordinates." "I'm heading out now," Ryan said, already reaching for his coat. "Make sure nobody else goes near the unit until I'm there." In no time, Ryan was behind the wheel of his FBI-issued Ford Crown Victoria, tearing north on I-35E toward Denton. His pager pinged with the coordinates, and he knew the spot, a rundown area where suburban streets faded into scrubby fields and deserted factories. His thoughts churned with questions. Ethan had been digging into a human trafficking network when he went missing. They'd worked side by side for 3 years, and Ethan was sharp, meticulous. He wouldn't just disappear unless something had gone horribly wrong. The 40-minute drive brought Ryan to the backwoods storage depot where Denton PD cruisers were already crawling the lot. The place looked like it had been forgotten by time, rows of rusty metal units lined up behind a chain-link fence crowned with jagged barbed wire. An officer in uniform waved him through the gate, pointing him toward Unit 47, where a knot of cops had gathered. Ryan parked, stepped out, and flashed his FBI badge as he approached. "Agent Mitchell," a tall Latino officer said, offering a handshake. "Lieutenant Garcia here. I'm the one who called. Thanks for getting here so fast." "Let's see what you've got," Ryan replied, trailing Garcia past the yellow police tape. The roll-up door of the storage unit was raised, exposing a roughly 10 by 20-foot space. But what was inside sent a chill through Ryan's veins. Aluminum foil coated every wall, turning the unit into a strange, shimmering box. At the center stood a metal chair, its arms and legs fitted with leather straps. Dark, ominous stains marred the concrete floor beneath it. "God Almighty," Ryan muttered, stepping cautiously inside. Against one wall, a metal table displayed an array of tools, a hammer, pliers, and what appeared to be surgical gear. And there, almost reverently placed on the table, sat Ethan's FBI badge and baseball cap. At first glance, the foil seemed spotless, Garcia said from behind. "But take a closer look." Ryan inspected the walls more thoroughly. Under the metallic sheen, he spotted faint, discolored spots where blood had been scrubbed but not fully erased. This place had been used for prolonged, gruesome torture. "Tell me about the guy who found this," Ryan said, snapping photos of the scene with his camera. "James Tucker showed up at the station around 7 a.m., shaking like a leaf," Garcia explained. "Said he broke in hoping to scrounge up something to sell. But when he saw this setup," Garcia shook his head. The desk sergeant thought he was just another nutcase at first, but when he mentioned the badge and cap, we knew we had to investigate. Where's James now? He's back at the station. We're holding him, but honestly, he seems more like a witness than a suspect. Ryan gave a nod, continuing to document the scene. The setup was chillingly professional. The foil would block any electronic signals from getting out. The chair was bolted to the floor, and the tools were laid out with eerie precision. Who's the owner of this unit? Ryan asked. We're digging into that now, Garcia said. The facility manager is pulling the paperwork. Right on cue, another patrol car rolled up outside. 2 officers escorted a sharply dressed man in his 50s who strode forward with the confidence of someone used to calling the shots. There he is, one of the officers shouted. The property owner. The man stepped up, extending a hand with a polished smile. William Hayes. I hear there's been some trouble at one of my rental units. Garcia's posture stiffened slightly. Mr. Hayes, I didn't know you own this place. It's just one of many properties I manage, William said with a smooth tone. I'm a real estate developer, and this depot's been part of my holdings for about 8 years. He glanced into the unit, and his face went ashen. Good Lord, what's all this? Ryan watched him closely. William Hayes seemed genuinely rattled, but Ryan had learned the hard way that looks could deceive. We've uncovered evidence of serious crimes here, Mr. Hayes, Ryan said. I need details on who rented this unit. Absolutely, let me check. William pulled a leather portfolio from his jacket. I always keep basic rental info on me. Let's see. Unit 47. He leafed through a few pages. Got it. Leased to a Michael Reed. Paid 5 years up front with an adjustment for inflation. When did the lease start? It kicked off in 1988. He paid in cash, which isn't uncommon for these kinds of rentals. What can you tell me about Michael Reed? William frowned, thinking back. It's been a while, but white guy, probably 45 to 50, medium build, brown hair starting to gray, kept to himself. He seemed a bit on edge, but you see that a lot with storage renters, folks dealing with divorces or financial troubles. Ryan jotted down notes. I'll need a full list of everyone who's rented units here, especially this one. The complete records are at my home office, William said. I'd be glad to grab them for you. I keep detailed logs of all my off-market rentals. Lieutenant Garcia chimed in. Mr. Hayes is a big name around Denton. He's a generous donor, backs the Police Benevolent Association, and runs a few charities. I just want to do whatever I can to help, William added. It's horrifying to think something like this was going on at my property. Ryan made a call. The forensics team can handle the scene from here. Mr. Hayes, I'll come with you to pick up those records. The faster we get that info, the sooner we can track down who's behind this. Happy to help. I live in Denton Hills, not far from here. You can follow me, or I can ride with you, William offered. Ryan was determined to keep an eye on William and get a better sense of who he was dealing with. As they headed toward Ryan's car, William kept up a steady stream of chatter. Agent Mitchell, I'm all in on helping you out here. If someone's been using my property for something shady, I want them nabbed just as badly as you do. Ryan gave a quick nod and turned the key in the ignition. Just show me the way, Mr. Hayes. As they rolled out of the storage depot's lot, Ryan caught the forensics van pulling in through his rearview mirror. Whatever horrors had unfolded in that foil-wrapped room, whatever had become of Ethan, the truth might be sitting right next to him in the form of this jittery real estate mogul. Or maybe William Hayes was just what he seemed, a well-off landlord tangled up in a nightmare by chance. Only time would reveal the truth. The drive to Denton Hills wound through streets that grew fancier by the mile, trading the modest houses near the depot for expansive yards and gated entrances. After a short cruise, they pulled up to William's suburban mansion, a grand 2-story colonial with crisp white columns and hedges trimmed to perfection, exuding the kind of old Texas wealth that spoke for itself. Ryan eased his Crown Victoria into the circular driveway, taking note of the pricey landscaping and the triple-car garage. The whole place screamed money and prestige. He trailed William up a brick path to a formidable front door framed with ornate leaded glass. "Come on in," William said, jingling his keys. "My office is right this way." The inside lived up to the outside's promise: gleaming hardwood floors, elegant crown molding, and tasteful art adorning the walls. William guided him through a wide foyer and down a corridor to a first-floor office. The space was rich with dark wood and leather, boasting towering bookshelves and a hefty mahogany desk that dominated the room. "The rental records are in here somewhere," William said, heading to a tall filing cabinet behind the desk. "I keep everything sorted by property and year, nice and tidy." As William rifled through the files, Ryan's sharp eyes roamed the room, picking up details: law books, real estate magazines, and a slew of civic awards hung proudly on the walls. But what really grabbed his attention were the dozens of framed photos scattered across the desk and shelves. Each one showed William grinning alongside groups of women and kids, taken in different spots, some outside, others in what looked like institutional corridors, but the pattern was clear. Every picture had new faces, mostly Hispanic or Asian, and a lot of the people looked uneasy, like they'd rather be anywhere else. Ryan lifted a framed photo from the desk. "You've got quite the gallery here." William glanced up from the cabinet, his face lighting up. "Oh, those? They're from the orphanage I fund near the border, Haven of New Hope. We work to give those kids a better shot at life, a real fresh start in the States." He went back to digging, adding, "Some of them aren't used to posing for photos. Where they're from, cameras often mean trouble, like government papers or deportation risks." Ryan studied the picture more closely. A small sign in the background confirmed it: Haven of New Hope. The place looked legit, clean, well-kept, with kids who seemed fed and cared for. William's presence in the shots suggested he was hands-on, not just cutting checks from afar. "That's impressive," Ryan said, gently placing the photo back down. "Not many folks dive into charity work with that kind of commitment." "Well, business has been good to me," William replied, pulling out a hefty ledger. "I feel it's my duty to give back. Those kids have been through hell. If I can help even a handful find stable homes, get an education, maybe even become citizens one day, it's worth every penny." He passed the ledger to Ryan, a leather-bound volume embossed with "Backwood Storage Depot rental agreements. This has everything you're looking for: full rental history for all units, including 47. I'm meticulous with my records, names, addresses, payment details, dates. The IRS loves that kind of precision, and so do I." Ryan took the ledger, feeling its solid weight in his hands. "Thanks. This is going to be a big help. I'm still reeling that something like this went down at one of my properties," William said, shaking his head as he led Ryan back toward the front door. "That storage place isn't in the nicest part of town, I'll admit, but I do my best to keep it safe and clean for folks who need it." To think someone twisted it into whatever that was. They reached the grand front entrance and William swung the door open for Ryan. "Agent Mitchell, please call me anytime if you need more. Home, office, I'll make sure you've got all my numbers. I'm fully committed to helping the police and FBI get to the bottom of this." "I appreciate your cooperation, Mr. Hayes," Ryan said, tucking the ledger under his arm. "It's the least I can do," William replied, his face somber. "If someone used my property for crimes, especially something tied to a federal agent, I want them brought to justice. That's not what Denton stands for. We're a tight-knit, decent community." Ryan nodded and headed back to his car. He placed the ledger carefully on the passenger seat before backing out of the driveway. As he drove toward the police station, those photos kept nagging at him. Sure, supporting an orphanage was noble, but the sheer volume of pictures, each with different faces, felt off somehow. Still, William Hayes had been nothing but helpful. The ledger should offer some solid leads, and maybe, just maybe, they'd finally uncover what happened to Ethan. Ryan pulled into the Denton Police Department's lot, the ledger still resting on the seat beside him. The single-story brick building was humming with more activity than you'd expect for a Tuesday afternoon. News of the FBI badge discovery had clearly lit a fire under the whole department. Inside, he spotted Lieutenant Garcia talking with a detective in plainclothes near the evidence room. Through the glass, Ryan could see Tex snapping photos of the torture chair from every angle, its metal frame and leather straps now glaring under harsh lights. "Agent Mitchell," Garcia said, greeting him. "Meet Detective Chris Bennett. He's been running point on the interrogations." Bennett, a solid guy in his 40s with gray creeping into his hair, gave Ryan a firm handshake. "Finding your partner's badge like that, man, that's heavy. We've gone over the scene with a fine-tooth comb. That chair's on its way to the lab for blood tests and prints." "I need to talk to James Tucker," Ryan said. "The homeless guy who found it all." Bennett scratched his chin. "We wrapped up with him about 20 minutes ago. He's in holding cell 3, but I've got the full recording and transcript here if you want to check them out first." He held up a manila folder and a cassette tape. "I'll take both," Ryan said. Bennett showed him to a cramped office with a view of the parking lot. "Feel free to use my desk. I'll be with the forensics team if you need me." Ryan sank into the beat-up office chair and popped the cassette into the player on Bennett's desk. He flipped open the transcript, reading along as James's shaky voice filled the air. The interview kicked off with the usual stuff: name, age, time on the streets. James Tucker, 53, homeless for 2 years since losing his gig at the Peterbilt plant. His voice was rough, likely from years of smoking, but his answers were clear and precise. "I tend to hang around that part of town," James's recorded voice said. "Switch up my spots every week to avoid cop trouble. Backwood storage, the old scrapyard, sometimes the drainage tunnels when it's freezing." "Ever broken into storage units before?" the interviewer pressed. "Yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. Sometimes you find stuff worth selling. Pawned a toolbox once, got enough for a week's groceries. But I ain't never seen anything like what was in that unit. Never." Ryan tracked the transcript, impressed by James's consistency. Then a question about security caught his ear. "Did you notice any surveillance cameras at the facility?" "Cameras? Nah, that place is usually a ghost town. That's why I—" "Hold on, actually, I did see something new last time I was poking around. A small box on the corner of the main building. Wasn't there before." Ryan made a quick note. Then his focus sharpened at the next part of the exchange. "Why'd you pick Unit 47 in particular?" "To be honest, I usually steer clear of Backwood," James said. "That place gives me the heebie-jeebies." "What makes you say that?" "It's the stuff that happens at night. Seen it maybe 4 or 5 times over the past few months. Vans rolling in at 2 or 3 a.m., groups of people getting out, mostly women and kids. They'd head into some units, hang around for a bit, then take off. It wasn't my business, but it made me think twice about messing with that place." Ryan hit pause and reread that chunk of the transcript. Women and kids showing up in the dead of night? His mind flicked back to those photos in William's office. He restarted the tape. "Can you tell me more about these groups?" "It was dark, couldn't make out much," James said. "But definitely women and kids, teenagers, young ones, maybe different folks each time. They seemed, I dunno, scared, sticking real close together." "The men with them?" "They looked like they were in charge, like security or something." The interview dragged on for another 10 minutes, but Ryan had heard plenty. He tracked down Detective Bennett in the evidence room. "That bit about nighttime activity," Ryan said. "Women and kids. I saw dozens of photos at William Hayes's place, pictures of him with women and children from an orphanage he funds. Bennett's face stayed dubious. Hayes is a big fish around here, sits on the hospital board, sponsors the kids' soccer league. Guys like him often have photos like that for their charity work. I thought the same at first, Ryan admitted. But paired with what James saw, he paused, thinking. What about those cameras James mentioned? Bennett pulled a photo from a folder. Texts say this model hit the market in late 1990. High-end records to VHS. We grabbed some tapes from the unit, but storage is limited. If there's an archive, Hayes would have it. I need to follow up with him about surveillance permits and any stored footage, Ryan decided. He grabbed Bennett's desk phone and dialed the number William had given him. After 6 rings, it hit voicemail. He tried the office line, same deal. He was just at his place less than an hour ago, Ryan said, hanging up. I'm heading back to see if he's home. We need those tapes. Need backup? Bennett offered. Nah, I'm just fishing for info right now. But I want you to dive into that torture chair, check serial numbers, manufacturer, purchase records, anything that might show where it came from. We're already on it, Bennett said. That's hospital-grade gear. Someone had to order it special. Ryan started for the door but stopped short. Oh, and detective? Have someone quietly check into the Haven of New Hope Orphanage. Just the basics, registration, licenses, that kind of thing. Bennett gave a slow nod. You suspect Hayes is mixed up in this? I'm just saying we've got to cover all our bases, Ryan answered cautiously. For years back, my partner disappeared while digging into a trafficking case. Now his badge shows up in a torture setup on property owned by a guy who's constantly moving women and kids around. Might be nothing, but I can't let it slide without checking. Ryan steered his car back toward William's place, dialing the number again as he cruised through the tidy suburban streets. No one picked up. The afternoon sun stretched long shadows over the pristine lawns of Denton Hills, and Ryan wondered if William had just popped out for a quick errand. But as he turned onto Williams Street, his instincts kicked in and he eased off the gas. A black Chevy Suburban idled outside the property, engine humming. A guy in a dark suit and shades stood next to it, his stance more like a sentry than someone just hanging out. A familiar knot tightened in Ryan's stomach, honed by years in the field. He pulled over about 100 yards back, tucking his car behind a landscaping truck that kept him hidden but gave him a clear shot of William's driveway. Through the windshield, he saw William step out of his house with another man in sunglasses trailing him. Even from afar, their body language screamed tension. William's usual polished charm was gone, replaced by jerky, nervous motions. The other guy stood stiff, hands clasped in front like a soldier awaiting orders. Their talk wrapped up in under 2 minutes. William reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick manila envelope, sealed tight with what looked like packing tape. He handed it over, then jabbed a finger toward the woods behind his house, gesturing with urgency as he spoke. The man in shades gave a single nod, grabbed the envelope, and strode back to the SUV. William stayed put in his driveway, eyes locked on the vehicle until it rounded the corner. Only then did he slip back inside. Ryan sat still for a beat, running through his options. The handoff could mean anything: business papers, legal stuff, or maybe private security business. Rich guys like William often dealt with hired muscle or PIs. But the timing right after the storage unit find nodded him. And that pointed gesture toward the woods? It felt like William was directing them somewhere specific, not just waving them off. The SUV was pulling farther away. Ryan made his call and eased back onto the road, keeping a safe tailing distance. He knew the area well, miles of residential sprawl in every direction, no office parks or strip malls where a deal might go down. If William was pointing to a property, it had to be off the grid, tucked away. As he drove, Ryan grabbed his radio and buzzed the station. This is Agent Mitchell. Can someone dig up all the real estate tied to William Hayes and his businesses? Focus on anything remote, especially around Denton Hills. Roger that, the dispatcher replied. Bennett's asking if you need backup. Not right now. I'm just chasing a hunch, but keep a unit ready just in case. The black SUV led him out of the suburbs and onto Farm Road 2450, veering west into emptier country. After about 15 minutes, it swung onto a gravel path marked by a faded wooden sign. Ryan slowed down, letting the SUV gain some distance before he followed. Through the trees, he caught sight of a big building with white stucco walls and a red-tiled roof, looking like some kind of institution. As he crept closer, he made out the sign, Haven of New Hope, a sanctuary for children. It was the same orphanage from William's photos. Ryan parked far enough back to stay unnoticed and watched the men climb out of the SUV. They moved with purpose toward the front entrance, the guy with the envelope in the lead. A middle-aged woman in a gray dress stepped out to meet them. Her confident posture and gestures marked her as the one running the show. She took the envelope with both hands, offering a slight, respectful bow. The men lingered only briefly before heading back to their ride and peeling out. Ryan felt a pang of doubt. Of course, William would send funds to the orphanage he backed. That envelope was probably a donation, cash or a check, and the guys were likely security hired to handle the drop. Still, since he'd come this far, he figured he might as well check out the place himself. The building was bigger than it looked in the pictures, a sprawling one-story structure that might have been a school or clinic in another life. Ryan parked in the visitor lot and approached the main entrance, FBI credentials in hand. The woman who'd greeted the men answered his knock. Up close, she looked about 50, with gray hair pulled into a tight bun and piercing, clever eyes. "Can I assist you?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of an Eastern European accent. Ryan flashed his badge. "Special Agent Ryan Mitchell, FBI? No need to worry, I'm not here about the orphanage itself. We found some evidence tied to a case at a property owned by Mr. William Hayes, and I'm just following up on all his real estate connections." Her face softened a touch. "Oh, Mr. Hayes, such a kind soul. I'm Mrs. Petrova, the director here. Please come inside." She ushered him through a reception area that reeked of heavy-duty cleaner and down a hallway decorated with kids' drawings. "Mr. Hayes started this orphanage 5 years ago," she said as they walked. "We look after children who've lost their families, many from south of the border. Our goal is to find them new homes and brighter futures." The tour was short but detailed. Ryan saw dorms with rows of neatly made beds, a dining hall where a few kids munched on an afternoon snack, and a modest classroom with worn-out textbooks. Everything was clean and organized, though a bit Spartan. The interior felt smaller than the buildings outside suggested, like parts of it were off-limits or unused. "Feel free to explore more," Mrs. Petrova said as they returned to the reception area. "I've got a meeting with some donors who just arrived. Someone can bring you coffee if you'd like to stick around." Ryan watched a group of sharply dressed men follow Mrs. Petrova toward what seemed like an office wing. He sank into a faded chair in the waiting area, eyeing the tired, inspirational posters tacked to the walls. A few minutes later, a teenage girl appeared with a tray holding a coffee mug. She looked Asian, maybe Southeast Asian, with long dark hair and anxious eyes. Her hands shook slightly as she set the cup down. "Are you a cop?" she asked in a hushed tone, her English thick with an accent. "FBI," Ryan said softly, showing his badge. "Thanks for the coffee." She darted a quick glance over her shoulder before looking back at him. "This place is fine. It's okay. I'm new here." Her voice had an edge that made Ryan lean in. "How long have you been here?" "Just 2 weeks." She wrung her hands nervously. "I'm 18. My name's Lily. Lily Sovin. From Cambodia." Ryan thought it strange for an orphanage to house an 18-year-old, well past the usual adoption age. "You okay, Lily? You seem pretty shaken." She checked behind her again, making sure they were alone, then blurted out, "They took my friend. Last week, some people came and took her and other kids. Please, you've got to help her." Ryan's heart sped up. "Where'd they take her?" "I know where," Lily whispered, her voice urgent. They took me too, but they didn't pick me. Sent me back. They said I'm due this week. Due for what? I don't know. The other kids say it's bad when they say due. Please, I'm scared. Help us. Before Ryan could answer, a male staff member loomed in the doorway. Lily, let's go. You've got chores. Her face drained of color. Ryan stood up. Actually, I was just chatting with Lily about taking her for some ice cream. She said she's never been to a real American ice cream shop. The staff member scowled. She had ice cream last week. I'm Agent Mitchell, FBI, Ryan said, flashing his badge again. I've taken a liking to Lily here. Smart kid. I think she's got a bright future. Just then, Mrs. Petrova emerged from her meeting, the donors trailing behind her. They shot Ryan curious, wary glances as they passed. What's going on? Mrs. Petrova asked, sensing the unease. Ryan kept his tone easy and breezy as he explained the ice cream idea. Mrs. Petrova's lips tightened. This is highly unusual. We have strict protocols. Naturally, Ryan said with a smooth smile. I totally get it, but maybe we could bend the rules just this once. I'm a federal agent, after all, a trusted community member, as Mr. Hayes would surely vouch for. Mrs. Petrova weighed the request for a moment. Fine, but Ethan must go with you. We can't let the children leave without supervision. Ryan gave a nod, though his mind was already racing through possibilities. Out in the parking lot, while Ethan was caught up talking with Mrs. Petrova, Ryan leaned in close to Lily and whispered, "Point me to where they took your friend. Don't stress about Ethan." Lily's eyes lit with understanding, and she gave a quick nod. Ryan grabbed his radio from the car and contacted the station. This is Mitchell. Get some units ready to roll. We might have a situation brewing. Keep an eye on the Haven of New Hope Orphanage and William Hayes's house. He rattled off the addresses in a crisp, professional clip. Also, I need a patrol car tailing me, but keep it low-key. I could be walking into something. Once everything was set, he helped Lily into the car. She slipped into the front passenger seat while Ethan, the staff member, climbed into the back, immediately grumbling. She ought to be in the back, Ethan said, his accent heavy. This isn't appropriate. It's all good, Ryan said with authority, firing up the engine. She can sit wherever she's comfortable. They pulled away from the orphanage grounds. Lily shot him a thankful glance before pointing to the access road. Head west that way. Ryan turned onto the road, catching the patrol car keeping a subtle distance in his rearview mirror. Ethan sat stiffly in the back, arms folded, clearly not thrilled with the setup. For the first 15 minutes, they drove through the quiet Texas countryside in near silence. Farm roads narrowed into smaller county lanes, the scenery growing bleaker by the mile. Lily gave soft-spoken directions at each turn, her voice barely audible. Turn left here, then keep going straight for a while. Yeah, just stay on this road. Ethan was the first to voice what Ryan already sensed. This isn't the route to town. Where are you taking us? Just a quick side trip, Ryan replied, keeping his tone even. No way. Ethan leaned forward. Turn this car around. This is abduction. I'm calling the cops. Ryan thumbed toward the back window. Cops are already here. That patrol car's been on us since we left. Ethan craned his neck, spotted the marked unit, and his face paled. What's going on? Mr. Hayes is gonna hear about this. There'll be hell to pay. His trembling fingers fumbled for his phone, jabbing at the buttons. In one fluid move, Ryan reached back, snatched the phone with his free hand, and kept the other steady on the wheel. No calls just yet, Ethan. You can't do this. It's against the law. Ryan pulled the car onto the shoulder and turned to face Ethan head-on. Listen up and listen good. This young woman says kids are being taken from your orphanage trafficked. Her friend was grabbed last week and she knows where they're at. Ethan stammered, she's making it up. Crazy kid with wild stories. Maybe so, Ryan said. Or maybe you know exactly what's going on. Here's the deal, Ethan. You can work with us, spill what you know, and I'll make sure the courts hear you helped save those kids. Or you can keep covering for whoever's behind this and go down with them. What's it gonna be? Ethan's face flashed through a mix of emotions, anger, panic, calculation, before his shoulders sagged. I'm just an employee. I do what they tell me. And what exactly do they tell you? Sometimes we get kids ready for adoption. Special adoptions, they call it. They say don't ask questions. Where do they take these kids? Ethan hesitated, then pointed forward. The same place she's leading you to. The old Moretti vineyard. Been abandoned for a decade, but people use it for those special adoptions. Ryan got the car moving again. You're doing the right thing, Ethan. They drove another 40 minutes deeper into Ponder County, the landscape turning stark and empty, scrubby brush, deserted farmhouses, and rusted machinery rotting in neglected fields. At last, Lily pointed to a rough dirt track almost swallowed by overgrown mesquite. That's it right there. Ryan eased onto the path, the car jostling over ruts and potholes. Through the thicket, he could see the remnants of what was once a thriving vineyard, rows of withered, twisted grapevines climbing a gentle hill. At the top stood a cluster of buildings, a dilapidated main house with shattered windows and peeling paint, a few outbuildings, and a large processing plant. Parked near the house was the black SUV from Williams' place. Ryan radioed the patrol car. That's the same SUV from Hayes's residence. Moving forward with caution, he parked a safe distance away and got out, hand resting on his holstered weapon. 2 uniformed officers from the patrol car joined him. Officer Garcia, stay with Lily, Ryan directed. Officer Daniels, you're with me. Ethan, you're coming along. Show us where these so-called special adoptions happen. Ethan led them past the main house, which was clearly abandoned, doors dangling off hinges, part of the roof caved in. But as they neared the old barrel storage building, Ryan spotted signs of recent use, fresh tire marks, cigarette stubs, and a shiny new padlock on a facility that should have been long forgotten. They were nearing the cellar entrance when Ryan caught it, a faint, persistent cough from below ground, followed by the sound of someone struggling against restraints. Call for backup, Ryan told Daniels quietly. And get EMTs here fast. Daniels made the call as Ryan examined the cellar doors. They were reinforced, newer than the crumbling structure around them. They're down there, he asked Ethan. Ethan nodded, looking wretched. In the preparation room. Daniels finished his radio call and checked the wall by the cellar entrance. Check this out, sir. He pressed against what looked like a solid wall, and it shifted slightly. Hidden panel. Freshly built. Ryan drew his gun. Federal agent, he shouted. Anyone down there, come up now with your hands where I can see them. No answer came, just more coughing and a stifled cry. We're going in, Ryan decided, glancing at Ethan. Last chance. You with us or against us? With you, Ethan whispered, voice breaking. God help me, I'm with you. The 3 descended the creaky wooden steps into the dark. Ryan's flashlight beam cut through a narrow hallway that opened into a larger underground chamber. The stench hit them first, a mix of human waste, fear, sweat, and a sharp medicinal smell like antiseptic. Then his light landed on him. Ethan Carter, barely recognizable after 4 years, was shackled to a metal rack against the far wall. His hair hung long and tangled, his frame skeletal under tattered rags. Scars and burn marks marred his exposed skin, 1 ear gone, several fingers missing. A man from the orphanage stood over him, readying a syringe filled with a clear liquid. FBI, drop that syringe and step back, Ryan yelled, aiming his weapon. The trafficker whirled around, shock wiping the focus from his face. Ethan Carter's hollow but sharp eyes widened in recognition. Ryan, he rasped, his voice a faint echo ravaged by years of torment. The trafficker let the syringe fall, clattering on the concrete. He raised his hands as Daniels moved in with cuffs, kicking the syringe out of reach. "Ethan," Ryan said, holstering his gun as he approached his old partner. "My God, we thought you were gone for good." Before Ethan could reply, footsteps echoed from the hallway. 3 more men appeared, freezing when they spotted the officers. "Hands up now," Daniels barked. 2 of them took off running. Daniels grabbed one while Ryan chased the others up the stairs into the dimming daylight. He fired a warning shot skyward. "Stop, or the next one's not a warning." One of the men spun, yanking a pistol from his waistband. His shot went wild, pinging off a metal barrel with a spark. He tried to line up another, but Ryan's instincts took over. 2 quick shots to the chest and the man collapsed. The other guy hit the dirt, hands behind his head, pleading, "Don't shoot. I give up." Ryan secured the man's wrists with zip ties as backup units screeched onto the property, officers fanning out to lock down the area. Paramedics hurried toward the cellar where Ethan Carter was waiting. "There are more victims out here," Ryan told the lieutenant who just arrived. "A girl led us here looking for her friend. If Ethan's in there, there've got to be others." It took an hour to comb through every structure, every possible hiding spot. At last, in the deserted wine processing plant, an officer spotted claw marks gouged around a storage room door like someone had fought desperately to escape. Inside, they found them, 15 women and children crammed into a space meant for machinery, no windows, just a single bucket for waste. The stench was suffocating. Some sobbed at the sight of the uniforms, others were too shattered to even flinch. The oldest woman in the group clutched Ryan's arm. "The tank," she said, her English halting and strained. "They throw the sick or dead in there. Please, some were still alive when they went in. You have to check." Ryan and Daniels located the ladder to the fermentation tanks. Ryan climbed up, bracing himself for the worst. The smell hit him like a wall before he even peered inside. Forcing himself to look, he aimed his flashlight into the tank. At least 6 bodies, in varying stages of decay, floated in a grim stew of old wine and rainwater. Hands trembling, Ryan keyed his radio. "We need the coroner out here, pronto, and a full forensics crew." Multiple bodies in the fermentation tank. Hours later, the abandoned vineyard had become a bustling crime scene. Emergency vehicles lined the dirt road, their flashing lights bathing the dead grapevines in red and blue pulses. FBI agents and local cops moved with precision, collecting evidence and processing the sprawling horror show. Ryan stood by the processing plant, watching as paramedics gently guided the freed women and children to ambulances. His radio crackled. "Unit 12 to all units. William Hayes has been picked up at his residence. He's on his way to Denton PD for booking." A wave of relief hit Ryan, though it was fleeting. At least they'd nabbed the guy at the top. He watched officers lead the traffickers to patrol cars, their wrists bound. The man he'd shot was being zipped into a body bag for the coroner's van. A grim necessity that left Ryan hollowed out. Across the yard, he spotted Lily kneeling beside a stretcher where another young Asian woman lay. Her friend, the one she'd been searching for. Even from a distance, Ryan could see their tearful reunion, hands clasped tightly. He walked over to them. "Thank you," Lily said, tears streaming as she looked up at him. "You saved her. You saved all of us." Her friend, barely 16, murmured something in what Ryan guessed was Khmer. Lily translated. "She's calling you a guardian angel." "I'm just glad we got here in time," Ryan said softly. "Listen, Hayes and the orphanage are under control now. You're safe. Child Protective Services will step in to help you figure out what's next and make sure you're looked after." Lily nodded, then caught him off guard by standing to give him a quick hug before returning to her friend's side. Ryan left them with the EMTs and scanned the chaotic scene until he spotted what he was after. Near an ambulance, Ethan Carter sat on a gurney as medics checked his vitals. Even with a quick cleanup and a thermal blanket wrapped around him, Ethan looked rough. His face was skeletal, cheekbones jutting under thin, pale skin. His remaining hair had turned completely gray. But it was the look in his eyes that hit Ryan hardest. Not relief or happiness, but a deep, haunting despair. Ryan approached carefully, not wanting to spook him. Ethan? His old partner glanced up, forcing a weak smile that never reached his hollow eyes. Hey, Ryan. Hell of a rescue, right? Like the old days. The attempt at a joke fell flat, his voice frail and cracked. You holding up okay? Ethan gave a small shrug, wincing at the effort. I'll survive, physically at least. They kept me alive for a purpose. He hesitated, jaw tightening. Ryan, I've got to tell you something. These people, they're tied to the Crossroads Network. Ryan's eyes widened. The Crossroads Network was a notorious trafficking ring the FBI had been chasing for years. A slick operation funneling victims across the Mexican border through a web of safe houses and crooked officials. Ethan had been leading the charge when he vanished. They nabbed me in '87. Ethan went on, his voice barely audible. I was chasing a lead on some shell companies they were using. Thought I was meeting a snitch, but it was a trap. They wanted every detail I had on our investigation. Ethan, you don't have to go there. No, I need to get this out. Ethan's remaining fingers gripped the blanket tightly. They tortured me, Ryan. Weeks at first, then on and off for years. That chair you found? Just one of their tools. They broke me. I spilled it all. Safe house locations, undercover names, surveillance plans, the works. His voice broke. What I gave them let them overhaul their whole operation. They dodged our raids, spread into new areas. God only knows how many women and kids got trafficked because I couldn't hold out. Ethan, enough. Ryan rested a hand on his partner's bony shoulder. You survived 4 years of hell no one should endure. This isn't your fault. Those people we saved today, that happened because a brave young woman pointed us here. Ryan gestured toward Lily, now being loaded into an ambulance. That girl, Lily Soven, told me where to find this place. And it all started because a homeless guy, James Tucker, found your badge in that storage unit. He could have sold it for a quick buck, but he went to the cops. People came through for each other, Ethan. That's what cracked this case. Not anything you said under torture. Ethan's head snapped up. Someone found the torture room today? They'd stashed my stuff there, probably thinking no one would ever check a random storage unit. For the first time, Ethan's guard crumbled completely. Tears streaked down his scarred face, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Ryan took in the missing fingers on his right hand. The bandage where his left ear should have been, the burn scars etching a brutal map across his neck and arms. They were going to end it today, Ethan said when he could speak again. That syringe, it was potassium chloride. They said I was no longer useful, that the cops were getting too close after the storage unit was found. If you'd been an hour later, but we weren't, Ryan cut in firmly. You're here, Ethan. That's what counts. A paramedic stepped up. We've got to move him to the hospital now. He needs urgent care, malnutrition, infected wounds, possible organ damage from years in captivity. Ryan gave Ethan's shoulder a gentle squeeze. I'll swing by the hospital to check on you. We'll talk more when you're feeling stronger. Ethan nodded faintly as the medics prepped him for transport. Ryan, thanks for not giving up on me. Partners don't quit on each other, Ryan said. He watched as they loaded Ethan into the ambulance, followed by the other rescued victims in separate vehicles. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows over the desolate vineyard. Crime scene tape rippled in the evening breeze, marking the sites of unspeakable atrocities. With the rescue mission wrapped up, Ryan checked in briefly with the forensic team leader and the senior officer on site, ensuring the scene would be meticulously processed through the night. Then he slid into his Crown Victoria and headed for the Denton police station where William Hayes and his accomplices were being held. The dashboard clock showed 6:47 p.m. as he drove back toward town, the rural emptiness giving way to signs of civilization. In his rearview mirror, the vineyard's emergency lights faded to a distant glow on the horizon. The Denton police station was a hive of activity when Ryan arrived. The scale of the bust had every interrogation room packed, with FBI agents and local detectives working side by side to process the suspects. Ryan walked down the hallway, peering through the observation windows. In the first room, Mrs. Petrova sat stiffly, her earlier calm shattered as detectives grilled her about the orphanage's role in the trafficking scheme. Next door, two of the vineyard suspects were questioned separately, their tough exteriors cracking under the mounting evidence. But it was the room at the corridor's end that pulled Ryan in. He stepped into the observation area, joining a few officers watching through the one-way glass. Inside, William Hayes faced Detective Bennett and an FBI interrogator Ryan knew as Agent Emily Harper. William was a far cry from the suave philanthropist he'd been that morning. His pricey suit was rumpled, his silver hair a mess, but the biggest change was in his eyes. Gone was the warm confidence, replaced by a cold, calculating glint as he sized up his situation. "Tell us about Ethan Carter," Agent Harper pressed. "We know you held him. We found him. So let's cut the denials and get to the facts." William sat quiet for a long moment before leaning back in his chair. When he spoke, his tone was flat, like he was discussing a routine deal. "Agent Carter was poking into our cross-border business in '87, zeroing in on unregistered rural spots we used as transfer points. He was getting too close for comfort, so we set up a meeting through one of his informants, dangling info about a big shipment." "Where'd this meeting go down?" Harper asked. "An old hardware store on Denton's outskirts, one of my properties," William said. "We had a guy posing as a homeless drifter approach him in the lot asking for a handout. When Carter dropped his guard, the guy hit him with a tranquilizer dart. Clean, quick? We loaded him into a carpet cleaning van and took him to one of my off-the-books rentals." Bennett leaned in. "What happened next?" "We got what we needed out of him. The basement was prepped soundproof, no windows. We used all sorts of methods: stress positions, sleep deprivation, extreme cold, and heat. That torture chair was especially useful for drawn-out sessions. A nurse I know, one with some personal issues, kept him alive and coherent." Ryan's fists tightened as William went on with his chillingly detached account. "Carter held out at first, but nobody lasts forever. Within 6 months, he'd handed over the FBI's entire game plan on the Crossroads network: safe house locations, undercover aliases, surveillance timetables, planned busts. We rebuilt our whole operation around what he gave us." "You kept him for 4 years?" Harper asked, her voice sharp. "He was a valuable resource. The FBI's strategies kept evolving, and we needed to stay ahead. We shuffled him between sites, basements, shipping containers, eventually the vineyard. The chair and his stuff got stashed in storage when we switched up our methods. I never thought anyone would stumble across that unit. Why hold on to him for so long?" William shrugged. "Backup, intel, and, to be honest, some of my partners got a kick out of having an FBI agent under their thumb. It sent a clear warning to anyone thinking about crossing us." Through the glass, Ryan watched William recount the horrors with casual indifference, his anger simmering. He turned to the senior officer beside him. "I want this guy hit with every charge in the book," Ryan said under his breath. "Kidnapping, torture, trafficking, conspiracy, murder for those bodies in the tank. His cooperation and reputation don't mean a damn thing. No deals. He faces the full consequences." The officer gave a firm nod. "With what we found today, he's not seeing daylight again." Ryan stepped out of the observation room, craving fresh air, needing to escape the cold malice of William Hayes's confessions. He drove to Denton Presbyterian Hospital where the victims had been taken. The pediatric ward was calm, a stark contrast to the buzzing police station. Ryan found Lily and her friend, whose name he'd learned was Mia, in a shared room. A CPS caseworker, a warm woman named Susan Parker, was with them. "Agent Mitchell," Susan greeted. "I was just going over options with the girls, foster homes, pathways to citizenship, schooling possibilities." "How are they holding up?" Ryan asked. "Better than you'd expect," Susan said. "They're tough, real survivors." Ryan chatted with them for a few minutes about their futures, the support waiting for them. Then, on a whim, he offered, "Would you like to meet someone?" "The man we found at the vineyard. He was held captive because he was trying to stop the people who hurt you. I think meeting him might do you all some good." After getting the okay from the medical staff, Ryan walked the girls to Ethan's room 2 floors up. His old partner was awake, looking slightly better with IVs and pain meds, though his injuries still looked brutal under the harsh hospital lights. "Ethan," Ryan said gently, "there are some folks who'd like to meet you." Lily stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "You fought to stop them. They hurt you because you were protecting people like us." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. "I'm so sorry. I couldn't stop them sooner." "What I told them?" "No," Mia cut in, her English choppy but clear. "You fought. They broke you, but you kept fighting. We get it. We forgive you." The room went quiet, save for the soft beeping of monitors. Then Lily reached out, gently taking Ethan's scarred hand in both of hers. "We're all free now. That's what counts." Ryan stepped back, witnessing this quiet moment of grace. Amid the darkness they'd uncovered today, this was something pure, victims seeing each other's pain, offering unneeded forgiveness, drawing strength from shared survival. It hit him that this was what would ultimately dismantle networks like Crossroads, not just cops or courts, but the unyielding human spirit, the power of people lifting each other up to heal. James Tucker could have walked away from what he found. Lily could have stayed quiet out of fear. Ethan could have lost all hope. But they didn't. Evil might be cunning and strong, but when good people come together, their resilience is unstoppable.